Hey everybody, my name is Terminus and today we are going to watch Monster, episode 33 I think. The title is Scene of a Child, whatever that means, right? We know Johan has some stuff going on with children, so maybe it's connected to that, or maybe it reflects some other ethereal concept regarding our characters. Last time we did have Lotte and Nina going out, right, doing their own stuff, and Lotte realizing Nina is just like Johan in terms of like looks visually. She reminds her a lot of him, and we do have that moment when Lotte is despairing about her young love, and Nina kind of agrees in a way. We still don't know what that exactly means, if that is meant generally, right? Pain and suffering is part of life and whatnot, and her approach to it is optimism, as we said last time, or if she means something more specific. And we do have Tenma struggling within himself, having prepared to kill Johan and getting told that story of that former NS soldier who was like, I go to the forest to remember that never again I'm gonna, like, anybody's gonna die in this forest. It's like the grave thing, like he remembers from his time as a soldier, where he was just commanded to hunt somebody down who supposedly was a criminal. But maybe, probably not, right? Just didn't question it at that time. Interesting how these things find us, isn't it? Right? How sometimes you are occupied with your personal stuff in life, with your personal thoughts, with situations that you yourself are in, and then you meet people, or you encounter circumstances that kind of remind you exactly of what you're going through right now, and then it's like, holy shit, maybe possibly I've gained a new perspective on this, or I'm doubting myself even more, or now I have my answer to what I actually was contemplating, was seeking to begin with. But yeah, let's get into it. This is the first of a couple of episodes, probably not gonna come out at the same time, but you know the deal, you know how it goes with Monster. I can't wait to see the next episode. We're knee-deep into this arc, and it's absolutely cool. I do wonder how we finish it off, or if this is just the start of like a long stretch of episodes which are continuous in a way, because it feels like all of our characters are once again in one place, but also like coming more to a head, right? We do have escalations going on, even with also with Roberto in the back and all of that stuff, and our doctor still being here. So let's get this started. Dieter ran to the doctor and he was like, I don't want Tenma to be a killer, which is also an element that's gonna come in here. 3, 2, 1, bam. Yeah, and the bird, right? It's the symbolism, huh? Bird doesn't care. Bird's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Got nothing to do with me. But yeah. I think we're going into the OP. It's very interesting what a calming atmosphere the forest often has on us. I grew up in a very rural area, so it's like, this reminds me a lot of just the feeling you have when you're just in the midst of the forest, right? The trees surrounding you, especially in spring or summer, and the sun is shining slowly through the leaves, like glittering. And you can see the forest clearly, and you can hear it. Like the moment you step a foot into the forest, like we've learned that very early on, is when all of the animals, like you hear the woods are being disturbed when you're being too loud, right? It starts to die down with the noises. Everything gets quiet and further away from you, because they realize there's an invader. There's somebody who doesn't belong, right? Who doesn't behave like they are in the forest. and who's also a little bit different from all of us. But if you take your time and maybe whatever you're doing in the forest, right, you find a moment of rest. I do like my mind goes back to one of the moments I've actually sat in, not sat, but I stood in an actual river stream, right? Like it wasn't a big river, but it's like it's big enough to actually not be able to jump over it, but having to cross it actually through the riverbed. And like, so I took a stick from like a tree branch or whatever from the side, a broken off tree branch. I held myself at one of like the bushes at the side of the river stream, and I like slowly poked and saw how deep it actually goes. I got like, obviously I didn't have like normal boots on, but just like I had like flood, I don't know how you call them, like flood boots, basically up to here, right? And like everything being completely water repelling and all of that. And I just stepped in there. And what you realize when it's spring or summer, it's already a little bit warm, and you step into a riverbed like that, and you like feel the around the what happens is like around the well, let me actually look up the word. Like the word I get is Wellington or rubber boots, right? Around the rubber boots, what you feel is slowly like the water pressure is pressing in, so everything is very close to your leg, right? Like there's no space, like there's no air in between, and you feel the river flowing past of your legs, and you do feel like slowly the heat of your feet is being taken away, and that is something that is very, very comfortable if you are in summer, right? Like slowly the like everything cools off, and you stand in the middle of this flowing river. And that's kind of the moment I'm going back to, because that was like, I think the last moment was this earlier this year, but more than half a year ago, when I actually stood in that riverbed and just took 5 to 10 minutes to just stand there and listen to the forest and just listen to everything that's going on around. And this has incredible therapeutic effects on you oftentimes. And I'm sure there's people who don't connect with the forest that much, but and I'm not somebody who's like an outside kind of person who is going outside all the time, right? Going hiking or going wandering in the forest. No, I'm not that kind of person, but I do enjoy it nonetheless, right? And it's very interesting how the effect that nature and like just wildlife and plants, the green especially, has on us. The smell as well, right? Like all the different flowers and bushes and grasses and trees. They're about to bloom. Oh yeah, sorry for that tangent. We're gonna move on. The hand reaching out. Not yet. Not yet. And rain. I love rain. It washes everything away. It's beautiful. How everything glitters in the rain, how the colors seem more vivid. Dangerous children's games. The falling deaths of children. Is it suicide or murder? So we have possibly child murderers. And they all fall from buildings? Ooh. Grim. Actually grim. Don't pressure him.
しこの子が死んでいたら私。
いいですか、奥さん。私はお子さんのカウンセリングに来てるんです。
分かってます。分かってます。けど先生。
ちょっと外でお話ししましょう、奥さん。
Yeah. It's better if the kid doesn't actually,
リータ、そこでおとなしくしてるんだぞ。病室の中に入ったりするなよ。
先生のお孫さんですか？
いや、ちょっと預かってるんですよ。
maybe teacher can talk to him, right? Sometimes it's better to just talk to a peer, you know? Talk to somebody your age or somebody who's within your social circles or whatever. It's easier to talk to people like that. With some issues. Other issues, it's easier to talk to people who are not your age. But obviously, Dieter is naturally curious. I do wonder if the dog actually had that in mind. He was like, excuse the yawning. I'm not really tired. Stuff can be kind of awkward between people sometimes, can't it?
ディータ、僕はマルティン。痛い？何が？その傷、その包帯の傷さ。怖かったろ？屋上から落ちた時。ダメだよ。何やってんだよ。そこのバッグの中に靴が入ってる。取ってくれ。何言ってるんだよ。寝てなきゃダメだよ。靴取れよ。
This child seems familiar to me, so maybe I've seen them before.
どこ行くつもり？怒られるよ。怒られたからってなんだよ。
A little bit of a...
別に怒られることなんて怖くないさ。
A little bit of a rebel, huh?
言ってた通りだ。
It's a nice day.
外に出てごらん。世界が変わっているよ。
Who said that to you?
世界が変わったんじゃなくて、僕が変わったんだ。
It's not that the world has changed. I'm the one that has changed.
だって、僕は選ばれたんだから。
Chosen? Chosen for what? Holy shit, good thing we have teacher. Holy shit. Disregarding his own life. That is fanaticism. Almost. Been putting these ideas in his head. It's very interesting. Sometimes it's really hard to tell why a person does the things they do. And in the case of a kid, it's even harder, right? You don't know which stage they were at when the things that made them develop in the way they developed to get where they are right now, when that started happening, right? Like what was the conflict that obviously there's no clear conflict. There's always kind of a myriad of things that come together to actually make you behave like that. And there's certainly the influence of other people who actually I perpetuated your own behavior or kind of gotten into your head about certain ideas, right? It's like he said, right? He said, when you come back out, when you go back outside, it will be different. It will feel different. And we do clearly see like antisocial behavior here, right? Like that is possibly the start of an antisocial personality disorder, something along those lines, right? We do have like certain traits in children that also can be observed. I think we can call them like callous unemotional traits, which deal a lot with like there's a lot of like rule breaking behavior. There's a lot of like oppositional behavior. There's a lot of aggressive behavior and causing pain in other people, or right, causing conflict, starting conflict, violence. It's very difficult where it actually comes from because it could be a myriad of things, right?
屋上から落ちた時怖かったかって聞いたろ。怖いわけないだろ。あれは遊びなんだから。遊びってだって
He was playing around.
楽しいんだよ。遊びだもん。誰もいないビルの屋上のヘリに2人で向かい合って立つんだ。そして目をつぶって互いに一歩一歩近づく。
Ooh, that is risky. Chicken.
なんでそんなこと？運命と賭けをするのさ。生き残った方は選ばれたものだ。
Chosen by what?
言ってる意味わかんないかな。
By whom?
生き残った方はまた遊びができるんだよ。遊びって。世界がつまらないからさ。
Is it though?
運命に選ばれたものだけが遊び続けることができるんだ。
What is he looking for though? Validation?
わからないか？君は僕らの仲間
Thrill?
だよ。来いよ、見せてやる。見てわからなかったら本当のバカってことさ。
Nah, trust teacher to not make any stupid decisions.
おい、まさか屋上に行くつもりじゃ。選ばれたもの、優秀なものが生き残る。あの人がそうさ。あの人って？この遊びを教えてくれた人さ。誰なの？
Johan?
僕ら優秀な子供たちの。
Superior.
さあ早く来いよ。僕いいよ。いいから来いってば。話してよ。君ならわかるはずだ。来い。やめて。誰にやられた？その傷。君の親かい。こんなことされても奴らの側に。こんなことされてもまだくだらない世界に埋もれているつもり？来いよ、来て見てみろよ。どうだい、ここからの眺めは。どんな気分だい？立てよ。何怖がってるんだ。立って目をつぶって歩いてみろよ。
Kinda stupid, right?
わかったよ。君の言ってることよくわかるよ。
And what's your plan, teacher? What are you gonna say to him?
真っ暗だと思ってた。明日は真っ暗だと思ってた。君は何が好物だ？僕はこの前 とっても美味しいソーセージを食べた。でも死んだらもう二度と食べられなくなる。
All the things holding him to life.
僕はサッカーが好きだ。でも死んだらボール蹴れなくなる。弱虫。ライギュワイン先生が好きだ。秘書のメレスさんも優しい人だ。でも死んだら会えなくなる。怖いものなんかなくならない。だから大人になるんだって言ってた。明日はいい日だって天馬が言ってた。死んだら天馬に会えなくなる。
He's gonna save him. Yeah.
当てちゃダメだ。ゆっくり膝ついて。なれないよ。僕はヨハンみたいになれない。ヨハンはもっとすごい遊びをしてるんだ。ヨハンはもう
What do you do if you teach children stuff like that? Holy shit.
もうすぐ日本人に撃ち殺されるって言ってた。
He knows. He fucking knows. What the fuck? I mean, maybe he's just saying it like as a matter of fact. Or maybe he knows exactly that he's being observed.
本当だよ。ちゃんと歩いたんだ。ちっとも怖くなかったよ。それで目を開けたら向こうから歩いてきてるはずのヨアヒムが消えてたんだ。見たんだよ。人が死ぬ瞬間をこの目で見たんだ。本当に人は死ぬんだ。
What do you gain from that?
まったくこの子ったら自分が何やったか分かってないみたいなの。この子は生きてたからよかったけど、亡くなったヨアヒムの親御さんの気持ちを思うと。あなたからも一言言ってやってくださいね。あなたの言うことならこの子を聞くみたいだから。
What makes you think that he's gonna say something good?
何も分かってないくせに家から渡してくんないし、テレビも漫画も禁止だし。
退屈そうだね。何か持ってきてあげるよ。
え、本当？
漫画は禁止でも絵本とかならいいんだろ。
チェ、絵本か。そんなのつまんないよ。
You're not seeing his eyes.
ねえ、この前言ってたすごい遊びはまだなの？もうすぐ撃ち殺されるかもしれないって言ってたじゃないか。ドキドキするよ。いつ頃なの？いつその日本人は撃ってくるの？ねえ、ヨハン。
Is he testing fate? Why is he telling children that? Hello? I'm sorry? Okay.
なんともはやミュンヘン大学フリードリッヒ・エマヌエル校図書館館長の私でさえ目のくらむような蔵書ですな。私は大学へ行けずに独学でここまで来た人間だ。せめて本だけでも読んでおこうと思った結果だよ。これだけの蔵書を私どもの図書館に寄贈していただけるとは、いや、感謝の言葉もございません。
Why is he donating?
目が見えなくなり、もはや読むことができない。この書斎で眠らせているより、学生たちの手元にある方がためになるだろう。
That's a noble idea.
はい。貴重な本の数々ですが、一般閲覧も考えております。ああ、そうそう。保管場所も決まっておりますし、セレモニーの件もありますので、ぜひ当図書館の方でご相談を。
警備の方は？シューバルト氏が世間に出られるようになってから物騒な連中の動きが気になります。招待客のチェックはくれぐれも。
He's got control again. Okay.
そうだな、ヨハン。
この蔵書寄贈を思いついたヨハンとカールが図書館へ行って下見するのがいいだろう。館長の ゲールマンです。よろしく。
よろしく。
His skin is so fucking pale. He could be dead, actually. Like, do you ever go outside, dude? He does, but his complexion is really pale.
保存に最適な温度、湿度はもちろん、盗難、火災に関しても万全だ。
すごい本の数々だ。人類の財産だな、ヨハン。人類の財産か。
What are you thinking, Johan?
そしてこちらの中央ホールで蔵書寄贈のセレモニーを行う予定だ。執事の方がおっしゃっていた通り、警備には万全を期するので、シューバルト氏にも安心して来ていただきたい。
ええ。父も喜んで出席すると思います。な、ヨハン。
Something stopped him in his tracks. Okay, what is he looking at? Is that one of his goals? Getting a certain book that he doesn't have access to?
ちょっと失礼します。
何かお探しですか？
ええ。友達のために
Ooh, okay.
いい絵本はないかと。
But why are you looking here?
お友達？
ええ。友達です。
そうね。じゃあこれなんかいかがかしら。ね？素敵な絵でしょ？
ああ。いいですね。でも少し大人っぽいかな。
あ、お友達って大人の方じゃなくって？それじゃあこれはどうかしら。いけない。あ、どうもすみません。
What are you planning, my dude? What are you planning?
私、おっちょこちょいでいつもこんな調子なんです。あ、そうそうこれ。私のおすすめの絵本なんですけど。
He found what he wanted,
それが
I
気に入ったんで
guess.
すか？あら、いい絵ね。誰の本かしら。ちょっと失礼。エミル・シェーベ？モラビア出版。チェコのプラハにある出版社ね。チェコにはいい絵本作家が
Ooh,
たくさんいますからね。
Czech Republic, where he was found at the border.
あまり有名じゃない人かしら。
What's happening?
どうなさったの？
Oh, okay. This is the first time we see him like this. Wait, is this Technolize? What's happening? Bro just had a Nina collapse. What? Holy shit. What is this? What's happening?
しかし今年の夏の暑さときたら
Shit.
ひどいもんだ。
This is the first time that we've seen Johan vulnerable, right? Like not emotionally vulnerable, but actually. mentally having a mental breakdown like Nina had in like the university? Did he have memories that he's been pushing away? We know that. We know that before he was found. They found them at the Czech border. And this seems like a visceral response. So unless this is like a scheme of him to be like, to get in a certain position that he needs to be in, right? In order to like make contacts with that librarian or whoever, right? Unless that's the case, seems very unlikely. This is an actual visceral reaction, almost PTSD-ish reaction to something. Although I don't know how to interpret that collapse, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I guess panic and being overwhelmed and then you just shut down. That's just it's just how it happens, right? Not enough blood to the brain, not enough oxygen to the brain. But this is the first time we see him crack in a way. First time we see that possibly something is wrong with him, because before that he was this perfect being and very, very hard to read, of course, because every emotion he showed was seemingly to a degree fake. Zum Anlass der Stiftung von Herrn Hans-Georg Schuberts Privatbibliothek. Tilted angles. Two steps do we hear here? Tenma? But there's gonna be tight security, Tenma, you know that, right? What? New song? Gazing at what is known now in this world. Your eyes believe in kindness. Are we talking about Tenma Dieter? I feel the show sometimes I could... We'll talk about it in a second. To your land of harmony. Almost sounds German. Oh, you're still alive? Hello? Okay. Actually, we don't need to recap, so we can go after the OP. Yeah, there's not so much to talk about, but we can get some stuff. I think the most pressing thing. Okay. Let's talk about this first because I got it in my head. Let's just roll it up from the back, right? Johan. Visceral response here. He's shaking. Right? He's chittering. The jaw as well. The jaw. It's very hard to fake that. I mean, obviously it's still possible. It's very hard to fake that. We don't see his eyes here, but like he's shaking. We would maybe even call that German would be called beben, but kind of quaking basically. He's actually having tears, but he can fake tears, so there's that. But his eyes are wide open, right, in shock, in fear almost, right? And there's something that's like it feels like something's like coming for him basically. This is so weird, right? I guess this... I mean, there is the possibility that this is actually reminding him of something he experienced in the Czech Republic. Located in Prague. Emil Scherbe. Whoever that is. Whoever that is. But they don't know him. Also, am I wrong, or does she kind of, like, little tangent, but does she kind of remind you of Nina? Not exactly one-to-one, but she kind of had some similarities. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way. I feel like I don't know if I can trust this. You know, after so many... And this, I guess this is also part of the effect and of the genius of Monster, that we are at the point in time where we do know that we can basically expect anything from Johan in terms of manipulation, right? We can expect Johan to convince us that he's feeling something, even if he isn't. And that kind of often feels like, hey, what is happening, right? Like, there's... Like, the response feels very visceral, but I feel sometimes like, I feel this, and the changed ED and whatnot, that the show itself is trying to emotionally manipulate me to open myself up to Johan again, just to kind of pull the rug right from under me and be like, ha, you thought again, you fool. But actually, it's all been Keikako Dori. Yeah, I don't know. Very well done with the again, Dutch angles, very effective, obviously, in making us feel uncomfortable and that something is wrong. The way we have, like, we zoom in, right, like something is coming for him. The way we have his shaking going on, especially since he's been completely different the moment before, where he's been almost like flirting with her, right? Probably in order to kind of just get what he wants or whatever. Right. Obviously, he's also a pretty boy, so... We have the motive of windows again, right? With the Kinderheim window and now this window, although it's not as imposing of a window. And... Like this whole donating the library thing, I don't know in which capacity that is part of Johan's plan, if there's something in there. Maybe making contact with the university higher-ups, right? Because as a student, you wouldn't be as much in contact with them or be deemed important by them. You're just another student, but now you're the assistant to Schubert and you get introduced to the, like, to the chief director of, or like, I don't know how you call that, of the university. The person in charge of the university, the president, basically. You have so many things, right? Hermann Hesse and all of that. The head librarian at the Munich University. But that's not him. That's he is the president, and he's saying like it would make the head librarian dizzy. And he's been manipulating all of these kids. Like I said during the episode, I'm really not sure where this is coming from, right? Oftentimes it's broken homes, right? Broken homes where kids experience abuse or neglect or just generally rough times. It can just also be based on what they experience in terms of peers or other like authority figures in their lives. There's certainly something within the systems that surround this kid that is not the way it's supposed to, or the way the kid needs it to be in order to grow up healthy and grow up stably, I guess, with a relatively normal mindset. Although I gotta say, there's obviously also a big genetic component in stuff like antisocial personality disorder and like early versions of that, like the unemotional callous traits that are kind of personality traits almost, that connect a lot with like just having a general lack of empathy for people, right? and having a tendency to go against the norm, right? Not just in the normal peaceful way, but in the aggressive and violent way oftentimes. The question is, in which capacity does Johan pick these people and see, okay, this kid is vulnerable, right? This kid might be a kid that I could direct exactly in the general direction I want them to go in order to, I don't know, in order to do what, right? That's the question, right? What is he doing? Is he just experimenting with them, just, right? Because Kinderheim and whatnot, and he is just trying to continue that and perfect that method in a way. Is he trying to test in which way you can make people obedient to your, right, to your ideologies, to your worldviews and whatnot? Is he just trying to ruin the world, basically, on even like a just very basic level without any clear direction? But we don't know that from him. He is like a person who's more has a clear goal in mind and knows exactly what he's doing, so all the puzzle pieces fall into place at some point in time. But I don't know what he would want with a kid, right? Other than just taking care of children and like having, like, because that's something very important in a community, so it gets you in contact with a lot of people that might be important. But in the case of the kids specifically, I don't know what the plan or the idea here is, or if it's just his personal whimsy, basically. And him just being like, oh, let's like put thoughts in people's heads and see what happens. Or maybe he, on a fundamental level, right? Just like this image reminds me a lot of Johan when he was in the hospital with Tenma in one of the first episodes, like episode 2 or 3. So maybe he connects with these children on a more basic level, right? On a level of like just identification. And this is why it's very easy for him to talk to these children, because nobody would really take them seriously if they told about, oh yeah, my teacher told me he's gonna get killed soon. And they're like, okay, I mean, live in your own fantasy. I mean, obviously some people might take it seriously at some point in time, but it's very easy to then talk to parents and be like, no, we've been just playing around and stuff. And he's been like, right? You can't find excuses for that. And maybe that helps him to actually get it off his chest, to talk to someone about what he's experiencing personally. Maybe he's seeking out children that kind of match him when he was this age. But we don't know that, right? We don't exactly know what's his plan here. It's very interesting because oftentimes, like I said, peers can have an easier approach with children. Now that was obviously a fail on Dietrich's part, although he saved him. So there's that, right? But right, sometimes it's so awkward when you start talking to people, right? You don't know what to say, right? You don't know how much you have in common with people, right? You know that when you start a conversation and you say something about something like a hobby you have or something, and they're like, okay, I don't know what that is, right? And then you start something else, right? Completely different area. And you're like, okay, maybe they might connect to that more. And then they're like, sorry, no idea, right? Or not that interested. Oh, I heard about that. Sounds boring to me, right? And you start that 2 or 3 times. And after a while, it's like, there's just a silence between the two of you. I think like that is, for me, in social interactions, that is one of the most uncomfortable feelings when you haven't started a conversation yet and you're just sitting opposite of one another, and then all of these thoughts are going through your head where you're like, what is this person thinking of me? Like, do they feel like I'm weird kind of because I just sit here and don't talk, right? Kids oftentimes don't really think about that. They just sit opposite of one another and don't talk for a whole minute, and then somebody says something, right? Hey, nice car you got there. Right, and that's enough to kind of maybe break the ice and whatnot, right? Or him just playing with his football. Because if he's not playing with his football, it would be weird because he would just be staring at him. But now he's playing with his football, and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm this guy, right? I'm Dieter. And then we exchange names, and suddenly we have our conversation flowing. And I guess as a psychologist, as a therapist, you do need to actually find these easy approaches, these ways to just drop a single sentence or say something very short, and then just get the ball rolling, because oftentimes that is all it takes. obviously there's a lot to unpack with him. A lot of like, I guess, he said everything is boring, but there's clear sadism also being displayed here. So there's this element of maybe he's trying to gain control over his life in a way, right? Gain control and direction in a life that he feels he doesn't have any control over and that doesn't offer him anything that is joyful, right? Because he's dealing with all of these feelings of his shtick here is fearlessness about death, right? If I die tomorrow, I die. I wasn't chosen. If I don't, I was chosen to go on, right? This is interesting. This is thrilling, right? It's like threatening me in a way, but at the same time, it reconfirms that there's maybe a reason for my existence in a way, because I want to reconfirm that it's not all meaningless. And I do wonder what has to happen to a child to actually get them to that point where before the game is mentioned by Johan and the thought is dropped into his head that he is actually ready to take that and run with it. And I do wonder how that reflects on Johan. If Johan is saying some stuff like that, is that maybe what he's doing in his personal life? That all he's doing is just scheming, and obviously he has his goals and whatnot, but like in the little things, he's often maybe just risking his life, taking ganders, right? Taking gambits and whatnot to test if he is going to get caught, if he is going to get killed. And if he's not, that he takes that as confirmation that there is a reason why he isn't, right? And there's like, and that his goal and his existence are justified in a way. Because we've been talking about how he's gonna get killed soon. But obviously this is something he isn't afraid on the surface level. But then again, we turn it around, and I do wonder how that reflects on Johan when we have the final moment of them two being confronted and him almost falling and being like, I'm scared, like the last moment. Would that be similar to Johan, right? Would Johan feel fear of dying because there's something he's holding on to in this life, right? Would he feel that in his last moments? And is that maybe what he's seeking, right? To see if he even feels fear when dying. Maybe this is also a quest for him to see what he feels when he does certain things, right? Experiment, right? Doing all these different heinous things just to reconfirm that, yeah, I'm really not feeling anything in most of those cases, right? There's like this desperation to fill in the hole that he feels, right? Because there's like a gaping nothingness that is in a way painful. I can imagine that. You do have that with people who have depression, for example. You do have that a lot, that they describe emptiness as something painful. Because obviously you would assume that if something doesn't exist, like a feeling, that nothing is missing, right? But there's our brain, our emotions do seem to work in a way that if there's something missing or very low or whatever, that it's still painful, that we're missing, that it's not here. Right? Much like we miss the positive reinforcement and the reward structure. If nothing good is happening in our lives, we can also just miss emotions in general, right? Because pain in a way confirms that we're alive. It confirms that we care about things, right? It confirms that we exist in this world, kind of, and we interact with it, and whatever happens in this world doesn't leave us completely unaffected. And I guess for Johan, that might be the blight, right? The blight of knowing that so far, barely anything in his life has affected him. Because what I see here in the smile that he's showing, but we've seen him oftentimes smiling sadistically or like coldly, but this is a different kind of a cold smile. This is a cold smile that tells me I'm kind of exhausted and done, right? Like it feels like a smile of resignation, and I'm not sure how I'm supposed to interpret that at this point in time. Because we don't have enough information for that yet. Again, loving the use of like Dutch angles in the entire series. Also to zoom in on the mouth, right, when we have the breakdown, and it's just like the teeth and everything. Reminds me very much of Technolize, what I've been seeing in the first couple of episodes of Technolize with our like main character and whatnot. I'm holding on to that the librarian looks a little bit like Anna. Not exactly, but she has like some features that remind you of Anna / Nina. Dieter holding on strong, being the good person that he is. Right, that's what I meant with control, right? I can hurt somebody. I can make somebody hurt, and it depends on me if he stops hurting or not, and that is kind of a way I can control things in my life. And as a kid, well, you can't control a lot of things in your life, right? But that need for control doesn't exist everywhere, right? It's yeah, I mean, we all like to be in control of things, but kids are at different stages of that, right? And normally if we do have like a mostly healthy and stable life going on, we don't need that sense of like that extreme sense of control, I might say. Yeah. A lot of cool stuff, that was Monster episode 33. And I liked it a lot. Cool episode. I do wonder how it continues with Johan, how we're gonna lead into Tenma possibly trying to assassinate him in at this ceremony, and also what maybe he's not even there. That's the problem, right? Because he just collapsed. I don't know how soon he's gonna recover from that. Actually, that is another point of interest, or what memories that might have unlocked in him, because like these signs, right, it feels like this was an actual flashback, as you can see that in PTSD, right, which you see a lot with people who've been traumatized. And the core criteria of PTSD is being traumatized, right? You have a trauma in the past somewhere, childhood or war trauma, all right, the R word that YouTube doesn't like, grape, and the being kidnapped, being robbed, all of these things, experiencing a very like heavy accident, right, or experiencing someone of your family or close friends dying a violent death, or like in form of an accident, or like as a cause of violence, or as a cause of a sickness sometimes too. It can traumatize us, and obviously Johan was found at the Czech border in a time of conflict and war, so it makes sense. So the question is, what kind of like intrusive memories and like thoughts has that unlocked in him, because that very much looked like it was that, and living in it in the moment, suddenly being put back into it, right? And the visceral reaction of the body with the shaking and the shaking and the screaming and the maybe even the complete derealization, right? That the loss of perception of the current reality that's going on around him, and then the collapse, which kind of speaks for his heart his blood pressure maybe dropping, and him not getting enough oxygen, and then we're gonna be back soon with Monster. Go check out the other stuff I have, Technolize, Monogatari, ReZero, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.